It's July 23rd, 2022, and today we're bringing a lengthy review of Jordan Peele's Nope. And, since it's been such a busy week in the entertainment industry, a king-sized news section. Also, Hot Wheels? Yes, Hot Wheels. As always, our opinions are uncensored and unsponsored. But before we begin, Chuck, I believe we have a new minisode hot off the press on our channel.
Yes, I did that this morning. I had intended to be a little bit more Johnny on the spot with it, as that story does continue to develop. Bear with me here. Because, it is all about the infamous Justice League cut from Zack Snyder. And the Rolling Stone article that was released is a banger. It's just literally the magazine must smolder, just with all the fire that's going on inside of it. But they flat out accuse Zack Snyder of essentially buying botnets to guide all of the frenzied fanboys of his to go after Warner Brothers executives, to bully them into letting him finish his cut of Justice League, which cost the studio another like $70 million or some shit. It's pretty ridiculous when you think about it. But at the same time, there's a lot of evidence to kind of back it up. Issues with the amount of what looks like quote unquote inauthentic users. Like the typical Twitter activity, 3 to 5% bots. This Snyderverse related bullshit was like close to 15% bots. And that's really what makes it seem credible, because there also was a giant drop-off in Snyder Cut activity once they actually released the damn thing. So there's a lot of other things going on too. Like, apparently Zack Snyder is like vindictive as fuck and was working really hard to fuck over people like Jeff Johns and John Berg, anybody who apparently wasn't behind his version of Justice League. So, if you really want to get a detailed run at it, go listen to the episode from before that I recorded, the little mini-sode. I apologize for the audio. I slapped it together a little quickly this morning and did not take enough care. So I apologize for that. It's a little rough, but it's at least worth reading the article if you can't stomach the audio issues in the episode itself. But I have to ask you, Matt, what do you think about this? Do you find it credible?
Yeah, I mean, I do, but the thing that I think people have to keep in mind is, even if, I think the number they give is 10 to 13% of the accounts could be bots. And even so, if 87% of the people are actual, Snyder Cut fans, it's so what?
That's what I mean. That's what I felt, too. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I don't know, I think Warner Brothers is a lot more to blame for this than they would like to think. They clearly like to leverage whatever they have. They tried to leverage Joss Whedon fans for a while, and then once he turned out to be a sex pest, they dropped him to the curb, and then they tried to leverage Snyder fans to boost their HBO Max numbers. And so, I don't know, I just think they're a lot more to blame for this than they would like to think. And they, in the end, they caved to a bunch of people on the internet. And it's why did you fucking cave? You're a multinational billion-dollar entertainment company, and you caved to a bunch of people that were speaking to you over a computer screen. It's what? Why?
It's not like they're I imagine that there were some wackos who did march in front of the Warner Brothers offices at some point. I guess I don't know for sure. I imagine someone did that, but maybe not. Because why go through all that effort of traveling to Burbank or wherever the fuck they're headquartered, and picketing them like you would 10, 20 years ago, when you could just harness 10,000, botnet accounts and get an even more splendiferous result, because the loudest voices on the internet reverberate, across the planet, and they can make governments jump and, corporations bend over and say, where do you want to put it? That's kind of what it comes down to, is that everyone is bitchified by the chaos magic of the internet. This is just Pepe all over again, making Donald Trump president, and Gamergate is to blame for this, Matt. I believe that.
yeah, that's like, I don't know, that's a bridge too far for me. I mean,
I agree.
It's pretty nuts, and I think Warner Brothers, because this whole story was brought about by their sort of internal investigation. Is that right?
Yes, which was commissioned by the incoming regime, from the merger. Before the show I brought him up. Like, my hero in Hollywood right now is David Zaslav, because he's just this big swinging dick. He doesn't care that Clint Eastwood was really good to Warner Brothers 50 fucking years ago. Why are you giving him $100 million to make his shitty movies that don't gross $30 million? Like, he's ripping his hair out on a daily basis and just riding the ship any way he can. Like, Warner Brothers is like the Costa Concordia, that cruise ship that collapsed, off the coast of Italy in the Mediterranean. And he is one man trying to fucking get this thing tilted upright and then off to the scrapyard. And yeah, like, because there is talk that they will sell off the DC superhero line. Like, have you heard that, Scuttlebutt?
No, I haven't. No.
Yeah, like, there's rumblings about them unloading it, because to him it's just a complete waste of time. Like, because he sees, like, Marvel's got it. We're never gonna get it, so why are we wasting our time? Let's make shit like Naked and Afraid in space. Like, that's like where this dude's mind is at.
Do they own TBS? Is that?
Yes, they do. Yeah, because Warner Brothers bought what's his fuck, the guy that owned TNT and TBS and CNN, Ted Turner. Everything in Ted Turner's umbrella had been merged into Time Warner. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because that I have heard about. As far as they literally cut all of TBS's narrative programs, and now it's gonna be like nothing. Well, they either cut it or the future remains to be seen.
Oh,
they're going 100% reality now with TBS.
That's really too bad, because if there was one thing about like that section, because like kids, you won't understand what we're talking about. Not that anyone under the age of 30 watches this show, but I guess maybe my fiance is under the age of 30. She watches this show. But when you would channel surf, there was always the large fields of desolation where there wasn't anything, and sometimes like static, but there was this block of all the Ted Turner shit, and you at least had confidence that from like TV Land to Cartoon Network, you were in good hands. And in between there was like TBS and TNT, and when they had all kinds of shit on there. Like they gave Family Guy a second life, essentially, just in reruns and whatnot. We're getting way off the beaten path, but this has everything to do with the Snyder Cut. This really does. Yeah. This is all insider baseball bullshit. Relevant to this. Yeah, because now he's... Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I thought you were going to put a cap on it. I was just going to say, go watch the video.
Absolutely. That's the cap, because that's where like all the meat and potatoes is. That's where like the nitty-gritty is discussed. And you can make up your own mind what to believe. Not that it really matters or affects anybody anyway, because this is just, billion-dollar corporations fighting with their millionaire employees or contractors. But the parting question from you at the end of last episode, I went a couple different ways on it. Mm-hmm. But I guess like before we answer, like, what was your approach? Was your thought like the person who, like, if you took them out, like there wouldn't be as many like innovations or creativity? Or like, was it like who inspired the most other people to become filmmakers? Do you like what how did you weigh it?
So I tried not to get lost in sort of like butterfly effect type scenarios.
Okay, maybe that's better.
I kind of took it from more of like like innovations they came up with, or like even like subgenres they influenced, and then also a little bit of like people they influenced, because there's plenty of interviews out there where people go on record talking about their influences. So it's kind of a mix of everything. Okay. As far as the way that I chose to look at it, but I guess just to restate it, what director's filmography, if zapped from existence, would have the most detrimental effect on filmmaking past, present, and future? And the way that the person I came up with was Spielberg.
I almost said him too. Okay.
Yeah, he's he has a lot to do with how blockbusters came about. and how they function today. And just the whole idea of a summer blockbuster is pretty much on his shoulders and on Jaws's shoulders. And merchandising too. Him and George Lucas are pretty much solely responsible for the whole idea of merchandising a film. And then also, from a technical standpoint, of course, we have the famous scene in Jaws, the oh god, why am I blanking on the name? The dolly zoom, is that what it's called?
Yeah, I guess, is it when he's like sitting on the beach? Yeah, and he's like watching the first attack happen. Yep. Mm-hmm. It's almost it's almost Hitchcockian in it, how it, like, isn't that what it's doing? It's like a Hitchcock zoom, isn't it? Yeah,
it's where the you zoom in while you're pulling the camera back.
Yeah,
I think that's what it's called, the dolly zoom. And so that he's kind of responsible for popularizing that, and also the thing about Spielberg is he hasn't been relevant for like 20 to 25 years, but even with that chunk of his career cut out, he still is like one of the most influential filmmakers ever.
Absolutely.
And he's influenced, there so many people: J.J. Abrams, Dan Trachtenberg, David Fincher, Robert Zemeckis,
even like
Cameron.
Christopher Nolan wouldn't even exist without a director like Spielberg, like laying the pavement for him. Because there's two different sections to his career. You're kind of right. There's the blockbuster side of his career, and then there's the elder statesman, Oscar hunter side of his career, which is another way that he was influential within the industry, because so many other people like him who also never it's like every director that came after him, it seemed like, to like win Best Director, were people like him who hadn't gotten theirs yet. So he set the standard. You fucking blow everyone's minds for 20 years, and then you get your fucking Oscar, because you're just the fucking man, and everyone can't deny it any longer. So like and I feel like if you're from J.J. Abrams, even Jordan Peele, like Nope has Jaws DNA like dripping out of every orifice. You know what I mean? I guess I'll be making that argument later. But I very solid answer. Like when you think about movies that influenced every filmmaker under the age of 40, the Jaws is at the top of their lists, or in the top 5 at least. And if it's not Jaws, it's a movie from my pick, which is Stanley Kubrick, which might be a little basic bitch, but that guy is like an ascendant master of cinema, like in the esoteric sense. Like his like mysterious death, and the weird ambiguity around his films, create like an air of mystery that, he makes damn good films. Like even Spielberg himself talks about going to see 2001: A Space Odyssey sober and walking out of it like completely high, and while his friends had done acid, he had not, and he didn't have to, because that's just how much of a trip that movie was. And that movie like launched a billion careers across the planet. And he like, as far as a transcendent filmmaker is concerned in like the West, this is very Western biased. I understand. There's probably a lot of filmmakers around that time from around the world we could hold up as well, but just for the sake of this limited conversation, I'll say Kubrick, because from The Shining and 2001: A Space Odyssey to even Eyes Wide Shut, the guy just set so many ships to sail, so to speak.
Yeah, and there's sort of a commonality between both of our picks in that neither one of these guys, they're so versatile. Like neither one of them has like a distinct style. They're so from each movie to each movie, they vary so much on what they're making. And so I think that's kind of a through line between both of our picks. And also to extend the conversation beyond this, I think it kind of extends to the movie that we're going to talk about a little later.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jordan Peele is going to be I think as his career goes on, he's going to be seen as more and more one of these really versatile guys. Like Spielberg or Kubrick. But
honestly, Jordan Peele is what everyone told us M. Night Shyamalan was going to be.
Yes.
That's kind of like the conclusion I've come to, over like the last night of rumination. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
We have to get through this glut of news. There's a banger. We might not talk about everything on the screen here related to San Diego Comic-Con, but nonetheless, we will dive in. This is the first Comic-Con to be held since 2019. This is kind of a big deal. Good old San Diego Comic-Con International. We were there 11 years ago. Now it's a little scaled down. Everyone's wearing masks. And it's just a little bit different of an experience. But what is the news coming out of it? What are we hearing about? Dungeons and Dragons. Mm-hmm. I guess this makes sense. I didn't know that they were doing this.
Yeah, I remember hearing something about it a while back, but yeah, it looks awful. I mean, that's where I'm gonna leave it. I don't know if you watched the trailer, but oh man, this gives me major 2017 Guy Ritchie Robin Hood vibes. And yeah, it looks just absolutely terrible. I think I'm gonna pause it just so it doesn't progress too far here. Keep talking. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
The Rings of Power, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power actually that panel is going on actually right now as we're speaking. So we don't have too much info on that yet, other than a new trailer,
which is really good, honestly.
Yes.
Yeah. It redeems everything that I had expectation-wise to an extent. But my question is, was Weta doing all the special, the effects work and design work for this? Because it looks 1-to-1 ripoff of the of the Jackson movies. This has Jackson all over it aesthetically.
Yeah, for sure. It's very clearly. I don't know if Weta's involved. They probably are, because they did film it in New Zealand. And I think they're doing the right thing here in trying to.
I mean, look at that Balrog. That's 1-to-1.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so they're making the right decision here, because if you chose to make the aesthetic completely different, it would piss off a lot of fans, even more so than a lot of the fans already seem to be pissed off about this show.
But now everyone seems to be pissed off, because. The people, the postmodernists will be upset that there's some adherence to old canon, and the old canon people are going to be mad that it just isn't more, completely subservient to what has come before. You know what I mean? Nobody is happy in this equation.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it looks better than expected, I think, and the sound too. It sounds like the score to the Lord of the Rings, the famous Howard Shore score.
What do you think about the reveal of young Sauron?
Is that who that is?
That's who that is. That is young Sauron, breathing life into the Balrogs for the first time.
Okay, interesting.
That's why this is going to be good. I was a naysayer. I completely understand. Why I probably sound like a doofus, but that's because I am willing to overlook all the nonsense casting decisions if they're gonna be making like fantasy decisions and like creative decisions like this, where it's that's what this is gonna be about. I am here for it. The wild shit that you never ever thought you would ever gonna see. This is the Silmarillion being adapted for hundreds of millions of dollars. What kind of a world do we live in where we get to have this? I guess all it takes is war in Ukraine, That's all it takes.
Yeah, I'll watch it for sure. I'm for sure gonna watch this, and I'm very, very, I didn't really put 2 and 2 together until I saw it at the end of the trailer. But we're a month away from this thing after 3 years of waiting.
It's on the doorstep. And just to compare this to Dungeons and Dragons, I've never gotten into that IP because it always was just people playing with action figures. From it's just a fork, if you will, from this intellectual property, from the genesis off of the Lord of the Rings to begin with, and it just other people's versions of Lord of the Rings just were never as interesting to me as the genuine article. And and so the fact of the matter is, for D&D people, they're just going to keep listening to their podcasts and their live streams, and I don't think they're going to be interested in this movie out of loyalty to the brand. You know what I mean? Like they have more favorite people doing better stories than whatever this movie's going to fucking be.
Yeah, for sure.
Moving on, though, I guess let's see if we won't even want to chat about some of the things in this little montage. Berserk is getting a movie. Yay! What is this? It's not Berserk. It's not the fabled, manga by... I can't remember the dude's name. May he rest in peace. Even I know he's dead. And that's all I know about Berserk.
This is the very, very popular comic book that's written by Keanu Reeves.
It is popular?
It is very popular, yeah. Oh. It's like huge, one of the best sellers of the past couple of years. It's only on like issue, I think 8 or 9 now, but yeah, they're adapting it into a movie, and then also it's getting a couple of anime spin-offs on Netflix.
This man could have a religion if he wanted to, but he doesn't. Oh, that's admirable. It's admirable. But he has other news. Like it doesn't pop up quite yet, but John Wick is happening, another 4th one. But this is the juiciest thing to come out of Comic-Con in fucking years. Fucking Shatner just fucking says what everyone in the room is thinking.
Yeah.
New Star Trek sucks, and Gene would fucking hate it.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I mean, I think he's getting to the point where he just does not give a fuck anymore, and he's done
bless him for it.
Yeah, this Comic-Con, he's done this Comic-Con circuit so many times that
he was there when we were there. He was shilling his documentary about Star Trek captains.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's doing the same this year, but with his is it his memoir or something?
Well, he went to space. I think it's kind of related to him going to space.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're talking about this is space Shatner now. This isn't normal. Like grounded Shatner that we knew.
Yeah, he has a new perspective on the world after seeing it from above.
This is really funny. Briefly, I'm just going to talk about this. At NDSU, I worked at a Target for a bit with a guy named Ryan Anderson, and he interned with some event people, and he was working an event in Vegas, and he was working Comic-Con when we were doing Comic-Con. So he was there, like, shepherding, like, Shatner around. And if you watch the documentary, The Captains, you can see him in it. Like with Shatner and Picard. Like, and Patrick Stewart. Like, he is with them together. Like, when they have, like, their
just kind of like their wrangler, basically.
Yeah, he's the wrangler for Shatner for that event. It was pretty ridiculous. But moving on from that, because I guess there's not much to say about it other than God bless.
Yeah.
Yeah, John Wick 4. I still need to see John Wick 2 and 3. I am behind.
Oh, really?
I'm behind the times.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this looks great. I mean, John Wick is one of those things that was such a surprise, and I still remember like being in a movie theater when the very first trailer for the first John Wick premiered, and every single time I saw that before a movie, people would laugh when the title came up because the name is so ridiculous, just John Wick, and people were clowning on it. But this franchise has been one of the most surprising like action movie like forward franchises out there, and this one looks awesome because Donnie Yen's in it.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they have in the trailer, they kind of preview the fight between Donnie Yen and Keanu Reeves, and it looks like Gun Kata from Equilibrium.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I haven't thought about Equilibrium in a coon's age. It's been a long time.
Yeah,
a long time. But I'm here for it. I remember thinking it was the coolest thing in the world back when I was like 11 years old, whenever that movie came out. And last but not least here, this is really the more important thing. This is the good news. This is how we know humanity is back, baby. Society has beat COVID because now we have to force these comic book professionals to endure the cringiest Q&A sessions of all time. This is the real reason why San Diego Comic-Con was great and why it was such a travesty that we lost it for as long as we did. like this article in particular, I thought it just made me laugh the way that Rich Johnston wrote it, because I sourced this from Bleeding Cool, or at least you did, I believe, and they just, I don't know, Rich Johnston's just a kind of a clown to me, but
yeah, he's a perpetual shit stirrer. Like, he's like the OG clickbait guy. So, but yeah, this article is in reference to yesterday there was a DC panel where Jim Lee, of all people, comic book artist / DC executive Jim Lee, was asked if the Snyderverse was going to continue, and he was, all the credit to him, he was very gracious about it, and basically said, no, it's not, basically. And so
let's be real, folks.
That was kind of funny. And then the other one that happened, the other really funny one, was Marvel editor-in-chief CB Cebulski.
That little bitch. God,
yeah, he was.
Do not like that guy.
He was asked about unionization in the comic book industry, and he completely bitched out on the question. Basically said,
I am not the one to answer this. Not me.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like, it's a hard question, and it's not his department, and he's not the right person to ask, and completely bitched out.
Very apolitical. Because, if there were consequences for him being honest about his political beliefs, that's wrong. He should be able to just say something if he wants to, take a stand on it. God bless him. But obviously he knows there'd be consequences for it. So yeah, his only survival is to be apolitical. Like, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, because he's gonna get condemned by the fans and the professional community for siding with the man, and then the man is gonna punish him for giving them bad PR because he answered the question badly.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. You're right about that. It is a hard question, but I just like to clown on it because it's him. It's CB Cebulski.
CB Cebulski. I don't even know how. Like, when you hear the story about how that guy got his bona fides in the industry, it just makes you want to die a little bit inside. He just kind of showed up and never left, so they just kept on putting him in somebody else's office higher up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he just kind of fell into it, or pratfalled his way up into the role.
Kind of like our friend Joe Quesada. God damn. What's with all these people just failing? These guys don't fail, though. The Russo brothers get real. Their success has really, inflated their heads a little bit, if you ask me. Because, who fucking died and made them the fucking heroes of the working class?
Yeah, this is nuts. I mean, I want to this quote. It's a little long, but I do want to read this because I think it. And then I want to get. I'll say my opinion on it, and I want to get your opinion. But the biggest takeaway from this interview was a quote from Joe Russo that said, "A thing to remember is that it's an elitist notion to be able to go to the theater. It's very fucking expensive. So this idea was created that we hang on to, that the theater is a sacred place, and it's bullshit. It rejects the idea of allowing everyone under the tent. Where digital distribution is valuable is that people can share accounts, they can get 40 stories for the cost of one movie, but having a culture war about whether there's value in it is fucking bananas to us." So what do you make of that? Do you agree? Do you think there's any sort of truth to that?
Yeah, my question is, why the fuck do you care so much, man? I think this is just shilling for their new bosses. You know what I mean? This is just Netflix propaganda. Yeah. Because that's something that they're pushing. Netflix needs a lot of things to be true. They need theaters to be irrelevant. They need it to be something that only rich people do, and they need to they are what is for the masses. So this is just propaganda from their bosses, in my opinion, because it serves them to, okay, we want to make everything that we want to make. Oh yeah, Apple TV Plus let us make Cherry, so we'll do this fucking monster fucking movie for Netflix, and then they'll let us make whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah. It's they Yeah, I think you're right on the money there, because they even like go so far as to contradict themselves in the same interview.
Okay,
Where they say
yeah.
like the gray. They're asked about the Gray Man, and they basically say like, we made the Gray Man for the theater. It's big and it's bold and it's huge, and it's like, and then like 3 paragraphs later they say all this shit, and it's like, what are you on about?
Yeah, and just speaking as, you know, someone who has to interview people, you kind of just have to let people say shit like that. You know what I mean? And like, because it's not worth the confrontation to be like, well, wait, there's an inconsistency here. Mm-hmm. But yeah, because there's so much incoherence behind their whole approach. Because
yeah,
I tried watching The Gray Man, and I turned it off and watched Michael Clayton instead. Like, that's kind of what ended up happening.
Yeah, I haven't even attempted. I don't know if I will, but yeah, that's kind of what I've heard, is that it's very mediocre. And but I guess to give them kind of their flowers a little bit, they were brutally honest in saying that this Gray Man movie is basically business-focused filmmaking, and that they did it so that they can fund more interesting stuff like Everything Everywhere All at Once, which they did produce. So
that's because I think they're angling for a Best Picture nomination. Like
for that movie?
For that movie. I have strong beliefs about that movie, that it is going to get the push. I feel like something really special is going to happen with that. The Daniels are going to win an Oscar. You heard it here first. Like,
I can see it.
Because it's made so much money. So many people have seen it. And you have to imagine a lot of them are, you know, industry voters. And it's going to be people who are going to remember that fucking batshit insane multiverse movie, you know, starring, you know, God, what's her name? I can't remember.
Michelle Yeoh.
Michelle Yeoh, yeah, starring Michelle Yeoh, and, you know, in Short Round. Like, all the boomers know who Short Round is. So I feel like it has a lot more legs than we ever could have considered it having. Especially considering how many critics fucking feel like it's the best thing they've ever seen. You know,
you're definitely right about that. And they actually just announced this week also that it's actually going to be re-released in theaters, I think next week, with like 10 more minutes of footage. I don't know if you heard about that. Yeah.
Might be worth seeing.
Yeah.
We spent money to rent that for 2 days because Angie really wanted to see it. And now, if I could see that in theaters with more content, I would fucking do it. Because it was like seeing it for like the first time all over again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a movie where, you know, I think you kind of notice things. You notice more things the second time you see it, because you're not so in like awe of what the fuck is happening in front of you the second time or whatever.
And you can just take in all the wonderful detail. And yeah, like I mentioned a few episodes ago, there's literally a section where the movie turns into a Zoom call where they're creating the special effects. It's they consider everything. And considering you brought this up at the beginning, and as soon as I saw this, I lost my shit and made sure that I still had Forza Horizon 5 installed on my computer, and I do, and it updated because we got fucking Hot Wheels tracks with real cars. What is this? What is it like?
Yeah, so this is I just wanted to throw this on there just to have, you know, something that we could talk about this week other than Nope as far as movies and media goes. And so I've been playing this like all week in lieu of watching things and on streaming and stuff. So this is the first expansion for Forza Horizon 5. Forza Horizon 5 is free on Game Pass, but you do have to pay money for this expansion.
Okay.
So in order to play it, it's like I think it's like $15 or $20. But
you know what?
Yeah, so
worth it, I would say.
It is. It totally is. So basically, what happens is, the regular Forza Horizon 5 is set in Mexico, and when you download this expansion, you go to this specific place on the map, and you're whisked away to a completely new map that is basically giant life-size versions of like Hot Wheels tracks, where they're just going all over, and there's loop-de-loops, and there's like corkscrews, and there's those speed boost things that you used to play with when you were a kid, and you could put the little car through the wheels and it would go. So it's like that, and so it's awesome. This is like one of the most just pure, like, fun video games I've played in a while, where there's no story, there's no plot, there's no characters, there's nothing to keep track of. It's just pure, like, fun, fun factor. And so
it's not just it does give your dopamine, Ghibli's a little bit of a squeeze, but that's not all that it is. It's like you're getting, like, it is legitimately a fucking good time. And to even just try and master, like, the different challenges, like there's a billion things to do. Like, if Grand Theft Auto was just about doing the sickest shit possible in a realistic way with a vehicle, and, Hot Wheels tracks notwithstanding, that's what this game, is good for. It's so good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so you kind of, there's a whole bunch of new challenges to do, and as you do them, you basically get life-size versions of actual Hot Wheels cars. Nice. Is that from a movie theater?
I think this is one of Angie's special cups.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great. I've been having so much fun playing it this week, and I would highly recommend. I mean, the base game, which you can go and play for free if you have Game Pass, is amazing in and of itself, and this makes it even better. So
I'll have to treat myself, because this is never coming off of Game Pass either, because this is one of those in-house Microsoft products that that they have exclusively, and it's always going to be on this platform. It is part of the embarrassment of riches that is the Game Pass itself. It should be illegal to do what they're doing. is my feeling.
Yeah, there's so much stuff on there, and yeah, I'm glad things are kind of slowing down for a while now as far as, like, the video games go, because it's kind of in a drought now for video games, so it's nice to be able to catch up on some stuff.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Just for on a lark, I tried playing Daggerfall, because I realized I'd gotten it for free on GOG a long time ago.
Okay.
And it brought me back because it's run in DOSBox, and I don't know how people played video games back then, Matt. It doesn't work. It flat out does not fucking work. Like I don't know what kind of human mind it took, but, like, game design has been so optimized and refined and advanced that like it's so crude, and like you can tell what it's trying to be, which is Skyrim, but it can't do it. It's just not capable. But
yeah, I've tried. I mean, even like because that's the second one, right? That's the second Elder Scrolls, and I mean, even trying to go back to, like, Morrowind or Oblivion is hard now these days, because they feel so dated. I can't even imagine what that would be like.
Dude, I've tried playing the original Mass Effect a few months ago. Mistake. Do not do that. Just because, guess what? I also fucking got the
legendary,
the 3-pack, the remaster for fucking free. I got it for free.
Yeah, what was that? Was that Amazon that was giving that away? Yeah, okay.
Ridiculous. Should be illegal, like we were saying. But now it is time to really, really get into it. This next movie is kind of a big deal. It's from our new horror master, the man who will deliver nightmares beyond our, the deepest fathoms of the human mind cannot possibly conceive the darkness in Jordan Peele's mind. And he has made a career thus far outside of being a funny man married to, a lovely, comic actress. He's also a very skilled writer who mines the tropes of weird fiction and, throws some Salt Bay modern flavor on there. Kind of woke, a little political, very conscious. He's the Kendrick Lamar of horror filmmaking, if you will. And his latest film, Nope, I feel like is not at all that movie that anybody thought it was going to be. Like, does that ring true to you?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I hesitate to call this a horror movie.
Yeah.
It's very obtuse. I don't think anybody's really going to get what they want going into this movie, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to not like it when they come out of it. And yeah, I mean, even like it's, I was expecting to go into this getting something on the level of commentary that Get Out provided or Us provided.
Yeah.
And even on that front, it's more, it's there, but you have to look for it. And it's not as in your face. It's not as sledgehammer to the face commentary.
Yeah.
It's more like you have to mine for it. You have to look for it. And there's multiple interpretations. I've seen so many interpretations of what people think this movie is about. And
there's even if these articles are true, it's even what the director himself has said the movie is about. I'm kind of disappointed in him a little bit because he kind of just laid it all out. Yeah, this is what I was kind of coming at it from. Would you believe I almost called the movie this? Wouldn't that have been ridiculous and ham-fisted? That's just kind of the thing we're dealing with. But I will say that, I'm glad that he was commenting on something that was kind of industry focused. Coming at the broader culture and not just such a partisan political one. You know what I mean? I feel like that's why ultimately I really fucking liked this movie, liked the whole experience, because I wasn't distracted by any of the sticky extraneous bullshit that sometimes can crop up in his movies and a lot of other people's these days.
Yeah, I guess
I got Hank in here.
Thoughts.
He's mad. Hank is mad at me. Top level thoughts. Yeah, why don't you go first?
Yeah, so I like this more than Us for sure. I'm not sure I like it more than Get Out. I think that Get Out is more of a fully fleshed out idea. It's very lean, it's very mean, and it's a complete thought.
Very satisfying ending too.
Yeah, very satisfying.
From beginning to end, it clicks. Yeah.
And
taking care of the dog.
Yeah, go ahead. I think Nope it's strange, it's a little meandering, it's unexpected, but it's full of interesting ideas, and it's something completely different from Peele. And I think that a lot of those ideas that it has, though there are many, it doesn't necessarily explore them very well, and I think its parts are greater than its sum. Yeah, basically.
And I guess I'm sorry that I missed everything that you said, but I feel like it's very fair where you're coming at it from, because this is imperfect. There's a lot of just loose ends all over the place that are they're there to really drive home whatever the message is supposed to be, but it doesn't really make the experience of the movie any better. You know what I mean? It's there because the author wanted it to be there, not that it was the best fit for the movie he was making.
It feels like he had a notebook full of ideas. I want to include this in my movie, and this and this and this. Okay, now craft a movie around all of this stuff. Whether that means it's going to be inorganic or not. Connective tissue be damned. I'm going to make a movie about all these ideas.
Because here's a case in point. This is how it happened. He's just got his fucking moleskin that he's filled up while he's on vacation. And at coffee shops and taking the kids to school. He's a busy man. He's just always writing, this guy, I'm sure, to be as prolific as he is and creative as he is. But he obviously at some point hands it off to an assistant. He's like, okay, get this into a document and let's, make it make sense, because it's all of his ideas that he wants to get into his movie. And while, most people would keep it kind of, focused on one thing, mixed in with his idea for this alien abduction movie is this weird, dark-ass fucking story about an Asian kid who was in a child actor who witnessed a horrific accident with a chimpanzee, who now is like a weird like cowboy huckster running a tourist trap. Mm-hmm. And somehow they have to make this fucking fit into this movie about a black cowboy wrangling a UFO. And it doesn't really work completely.
I think you hit the nail on the head. And I guess to get into the meat of it, you had a really good theory as to what all that stuff is about. I know that people have floated so many ideas as to what this is about, from it's about making movies, like the movie industry. It's about capitalism. It's about the erasure of black people from cinematic history, all that stuff. But what I want to know, kind of what you thought about that in particular, because the movie starts with that. I mean, it starts with a Bible verse, but the first scene after that is the chimpanzee attack and the shoe balancing. So yeah, what did you make of that?
I was completely fucking flabbergasted by the beginning of this movie. I was surrounded in this is the worst theater I have ever been in. The AMC smelled like musty ass fucking manure, because remember, Minot is having the state fair, so all the hicks are in town. They're not scraping off their fucking shoes, and a lot of people skipped Kid Rock and were at Nope last night when I was, and it was the stinkiest theater I've ever been in. It smelled like I was in the pavilion, and there was hicks all like sitting behind me, and they had their chaw, and I could hear him spitting, and this homie leaned over to his friend, and he was like audibly in that scene, in the terror of this opening sequence, and he was just like, what the fuck kind of movie is this? And I about died, but then I was recentered into the movie because it's such a jarring way to begin it. It makes no sense, especially when you know what this movie is supposed to be about, and you're just given this scene, and you're just like, what do I do with this, Jordan Peele? What do you want from me, man? I was here for one thing, and now I have to deal with this horrific scenario for the rest of my life. Fuck you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Because you had written it on our on our outline as far as what you made of that scene, and I think you're on to something there. So what did you make of all those scenes with the chimp and the
Bible quote?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's entirely it's this, I'm trying to find the note. Oh, just about the quote itself. It's, I will cast abominable filth upon thee and make thee vile, and will set thee as a spectacle. And I don't particularly know what the context of the Bible verse itself is. But Jordan Peele has been very open about how this movie is just about what spectacles are, and the chimpanzee freak out, and the balancing shoe. It's all about just showing what creatures who aren't human and don't have sentience, how they react to our being in their presence. Things can be benign. That chimpanzee can be just fine 1 minute, and then the next minute he's ripping someone's face off. A horse can be fine 1 second, and then the next it's startled and it's kicking someone's teeth out of their head. So the whole reason why this weird little addendum is attached to this movie is to just illustrate to OJ and the audience what the real dynamic with the UFO was, and what the consequences for not respecting the animal's boundaries and tendencies are. It's because humans didn't understand what we were dealing with, that the people were being abducted, and why the UFO was treating them the way it was. Because we're kind of skirting around a big spoiler for the movie, but this UFO isn't what you expect it to be, basically. Yeah,
and I think to kind of take that thought, that's, to me, is one of the better parts of the movie, is the UFO itself and kind of the mystery behind that, and then kind of what you figure out it is. It turns out the UFO is the alien itself, basically.
Yeah.
And it like unfurls into like this billowing like cloth, like fabric almost.
It becomes enormous. It looks almost like a hip bone. Like it looks like something else depending on what angle you're looking at it. But and then like at a certain point it will like shoot out like a weird square and then just like keep on like almost like shuddering because it's looking at you. Like it's almost like this UFO is like a camera itself. Did you get that impression? Like the shutter of the camera built into it?
Like an old-timey camera, you know, those like boxy old-timey cameras. Yeah, like definitely I think you're on the right track there. And then like before that, I guess I'll give a shout out to, because a lot of movies that I watch nowadays, I try and be more conscious of like the individual players behind the scenes. And the production design of the alien was done by this really famous production designer named Ruth De Jong. She's worked on like hundreds of movies, and she's sort of responsible for the look of the alien and the fucking weird ass like balloon insides of it, or like the blow up, like I don't even know what that looked like. It to me it looked like those like inflatable obstacle courses that people rent for like grad parties and like school carnivals when the people got trapped in there, and then it digests them, and it was so fucked up.
Dude, like, that's like what I felt horrible. Like no moment in any movie in recent memory has made me feel that down. Like it brought me back to like a moment in my childhood, and I can't quite pinpoint exactly what movie I was watching, but it was like it was Alien Resurrections, because it's the scene where like the prisoners are like bound, and then they're forced to have facehuggers put on them, and they're like forcibly impregnated. That fucked me up when I saw that as a kid. The concept that human beings would do that to each other. You know what? I don't know, but this was even worse but it drove home. Like, it finally, like, drove home, like, what this movie really is, like about as far as weird fiction is concerned. Because this is, you know, cosmicism, you know, H.P. Lovecraft bullshit is all about the indifference of the universe and the indifference of, you know, cosmic entities to the existence of man. And to this thing, we were just fucking food. You know, or at worst, we were just a pest. Because, like, it would just it'd suck you up, and it would inhale you, and you'd get run through this, like it's almost like you're just getting flattened. Like, that was awful. Like, you can barely see what's going on, but it's almost a blessing. You know, because if you actually,
It's like 1 second. The really fucked up part about it is every time that the alien sucks someone up, you can hear them yelling inside of, like you can hear them from outside, and so.
Well, yeah, and that means like every time at the beginning of the movie when you are hearing that sound, that's what's happening.
Yeah. And it's like it's just, it happens so suddenly too, because all of those people that were at the theme park attraction are suddenly there. They're in the inside of the UFO, and then it's just done. They're all just gone. Yep. And then the blood starts raining down on the house. And that to me was the highlight of the movie. That scene, it was so visually impressive, and it was such stark imagery of the blood raining on the house, and
all the keys, you know,
the keys
getting embedded. Yeah.
And like their pocket change and whatever else they had on them when they got sucked up, and the blood dripping down the window from inside the house. Oh man, that was incredible.
So I guess we might as well, talking about people who worked on this, the cinematography.
Yes.
I had some doubts going in that the IMAX treatment would matter a lick, but it's kind of obvious that it's why this movie is so fucking good, and why it's gonna be worth another watch, because there's very little cutting, long shots, big and wide. The camera does lots of sweeping, slow work, but it's very impactful, and it's like it almost kind of like Godzilla it like really tries hard to not get the full view of the monster on the screen all at once right away. It gradually builds up to that big, high moment, in the finale. But yeah, just like this looking up at the clouds and just slowly like looking for movement, because initially just the camera in the movie is doing that, but eventually the characters themselves are literally doing that with IMAX cameras, which made me laugh.
Yeah, the IMAX product placement, whatever that was.
I think it was just because, hey, we were using them, we might as well give them some credit, I guess, even though everybody knows about IMAX, right?
Yeah, and the thing I'll say about that is all of the stuff, the shots of the UFO are most of them anyways. All the shots that aren't surveillance cameras capturing it are shot from ground level, looking up at the clouds. Yeah. And or from the character's perspective, looking up at the clouds in the UFO. And so it just gives you the sense of like enormity, like that you're the little tiny pipsqueak looking up at this giant ass thing that's stalking you, basically. And so yeah, that was incredible. I mean, Hoyt van Hoytema is like, he's like an event cinematographer. Like if he does a movie, you have to check that movie out based on that fact alone, basically.
See, it just like I'm not mad that this guy's got a career, but like, what the fuck happened to Wally Pfister? He used to be that guy, and then he made his directorial debut in Transcendence, and he literally hasn't worked again. You know what really? Because Christopher Nolan isn't working with him anymore because Hoyt is so good. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's I don't know, like Dunkirk fucking slaps, Interstellar is great, but this is really, this stands up to even like how good like his work in those movies was. Like, did he didn't win an Oscar for Dunkirk, did he?
I don't know. Was that the same? I guess I'm not sure. I'll look real quick.
Because I feel like he might win it for this one. Like he elevates. Like I think you mentioned in your write-up. What is the quote? It's like the once like a single like something lifts all, like a wave lifts all ships.
Rising tide.
Rising tides lifts all boats, and in a way, like he is lifting everything that's going on, because like everyone's bringing quality shit to the table, but he gives them the palette. He gives them all the space to work with. He gets great shit out of the actors, and God, there's a lot to talk about in this movie, which I'm grateful, because there's been a few of our main event movies where I feel like, you know what, we've trod all the ground. There's nothing left at the bottom of this barrel to talk about. But like, there's so much packed into this, for better and worse, that you could. People will write as many theses about Nope as they will about Men someday, but they might just not get as many brownie points, as their other classmate who chooses Men. I don't know. We'll see. But was this solely written by Jordan Peele? He doesn't have any screenwriting partners, right?
Correct.
Okay, he gets bonus points from me then, because that I feel like people like Edgar Wright, unless they're working with like true creative partners, like they're diminishing themselves by bringing on other people to write with them. And if I don't want Jordan, like Quentin Tarantino doesn't let other people write with him, does he? Or did he?
I don't think so. No, I think he pretty
Real
much
Dogs. Real Dogs don't like Stanley Kubrick is an exception, but Real Dogs do not let other people touch their shit. So like there's like we're getting the full Monty with this one. We're getting all of his weird eccentricities with this one. But like, what did you make of the title? How did you think of its introduction? Like, because there was that community of people who would get up and leave movies and applaud when the title is said. And they get to it pretty quickly. What did you think of that whole sequence, that red herring sequence in the barn with the what appeared to be little green men?
Oh yeah, that was good. I mean, I liked the, usually, like, kind of like you said, when people say the title of a movie in the movie itself, it's really lame. But I liked it when it was both times in this movie during that scene, and then also when he's in the car and he opens the door a little bit and
he can see. God, yeah. Nope. Because like, that character, I appreciated that character a great deal because I know that guy. It might not be like what's that actor's name? It's Kaluuya, right?
Yeah, Daniel Kaluuya.
Yeah. They may be white, in where I'm from, but that kind of laconic, like farm laborer, guy that like literally just wears the same hoodie for 30 years, because that's what they got when they first got put out into the fields as a kid or whatever. And they just don't have much to say, no matter how much you try and talk to them, and they just are always just kind of downcast and, and just kind of like shifty. I don't know, like it was a very nuanced performance from him, even though we don't get a lot out of him besides his eyeballs, and his presence. It's a lot of physical acting from him. But I really appreciated what he was doing, I guess.
Yeah, Daniel Kaluuya has he has one of those really, really famous stares, that icy stare where they used really, really well in Get Out. Every time he was sort of like silently saying "what the fuck" to his girlfriend's parents. Yeah. And then in this, it's basically just used to, because he can't believe what's happening around him. And but yeah, he was great. And Keke Palmer, who played his sister, was equally as great. I mean, I think that I said in my write-up that I think she's kind of the secret protagonist for the film, because she gets a lot of the dialogue, and she has more of an arc, I guess, than Daniel Kaluuya had. So yeah, she
finally
really
gets to wrangle her jean jacket, basically, by the end of the movie.
Yeah. But the one thing I will say is, I guess to kind of go on with that track is, what did you think about their sort of motivations for those two characters and their? I just thought it was a little too obtuse as far as it was weak. I thought it was weak as far as, why are they even still at the farm? Why aren't they getting help? Why aren't they running away? Because there's sort of this weak logic that they want to capture it on film so that they'll get on Oprah and then somehow
and they want exclusivity. They don't want anybody. They don't want TMZ getting it.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it was like, I don't know. I just thought it was a little flimsy, and like the, at the very, very end, the whole reason for the climax, the whole tipping point of the film is her trying to get that photo. And I'm just like, why are you doing any of this? Because you're gonna die.
I'm gonna pause you right there. It's also unnecessary because did they not get all that fucking IMAX footage? That didn't get. Exactly. Did that get destroyed? Surely, I have no idea. Surely some of that is recoverable.
Yeah, because the cinematographer guy, that guy,
you've never seen him again. Yeah, he gets eaten, but that's a second camera. He had two. He had a mobile setup and a tripod setup, and he takes his mobile setup to go die a glorious death shooting a great predator, because apparently that's all that this guy does, is sit at home and make lemon tarts and watch black and white reels of predators eating, different things. Very strange character. I don't know where he was coming from with that, but very fun nonetheless. Yeah, that's the other nope shot. Nope.
That was awesome. His character is really, really good, and kind of, he reminds me of his sort of willingness to die to get the best footage that humanity's ever captured. It reminds me of that. Have you ever seen the camera footage from that guy who died on Mount St. Helens? in real life?
Yes. Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Because it was basically, there was a nature photographer. He was on like the lip of Mount St. Helens or close to it when it erupted in I believe that was the 90s. And he assessed the situation and basically said, well, I'm for sure gonna die.
Yep.
So I'm just gonna get all of this footage before the volcano engulfs me, basically. And then that footage is now on the internet for everybody to look at. But that's what it reminded me of.
And speaking of that, like that kind of thing, I think there's a documentary coming out soon about a couple that that studied volcanoes and tried to get footage of volcanoes erupting, where they would like create like metal suits. I think it's called like Fire of Love. Like Nat Geo made it, I believe. But yeah, I saw a trailer for it. It's the same theme. But yeah, like that story about the Mount St. Helens guy is fucking nuts. And it takes a real like steely-eyed missile man, so to speak, to just commit to just doing the right thing in that moment and not just curl up and cry as you die slowly. And yeah, because like this is a real man's man movie. Like this is a Spielberg fucking movie. It goes places Spielberg would never go. It bites your head off, with the abduction sequence. But yeah, that's the thing. That's funny. Like, is War of the Worlds. That scene in War of the Worlds where you see the tripods like impale a guy and then spray the red like shit everywhere. That was another that was like another flashback I had. But like this took it even fucking further than that. So I take it back. Spielberg does go there. He did go there.
Yeah, I mean, there always seems to be with like alien imagery in movies. There always seems to be some sort of element of it being more fucked up than it should be. Because yeah, I mean the people getting like zapped out of their clothes in that movie in War of the Worlds, and then Tom Cruise when he gets home he like shakes all the people dust off himself. Yeah. That's something that I remember too from that movie. So yeah, there's always something weird about aliens that we as humans, we have such like a it's more messed up than ghosts or even like killers like slasher movies. There's something about aliens that's just so messed up.
Yeah, because they're unknowable. They came from somewhere that we can't possibly understand. We'll never go there, because that is kind of a maybe a failing, or maybe it's a virtue of this movie. I'm not quite sure yet. But you get no fucking like data download on where this thing fucking came from, how long it's been around, like what the fuck its deal is. All of a sudden, it's just there.
That is the one thing we actually do get some details on. I think it's 6 months is how long it's been there, because Daniel Kaluuya's
that's right. That cloud. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, fair enough. So yeah, why did it just show up out of nowhere? And what the fuck is it? Like, I can just fill in the blank in my head and be like, okay, yeah, it's just a space whale, and we're the plankton. Like that's all that's happening here, and it could be as simple as that. But for I don't know, was there anything else you wanted to touch on about the movie itself, or like elements of the movie? I mean, there is there's a couple things that I kind of personally found a little indulgent. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
One of them is the TMZ guy. I don't understand the point of that.
It was just to get Keke Palmer's character an electric bicycle for the final sequence.
Okay,
that's the only reason. That was the only reason. It was to also give. It basically, like, I don't know. Plans can't always go right. It seems when people write movies these days, things need to go wrong. Things can't go according to plan, and our characters need to show how hip and improvisational they can be. And just they just everything's going wrong. We can still make it work. But that's the thing. Him showing up was good for them, because then we don't have to risk our tails to lure this thing out. Kind of becomes the setup for this scenario. But because it's a TMZ guy, they're just gonna let it happen, which is kind of what you start viewing your heroes, kind of in a little negative way. Like, it's kind of fucked up. But I mean, their psyche is broken. because, and I don't know, like what was, I'll come back to that a little bit later, but like what else did you find unnecessary or indulgent?
Well, there was we already kind of talked about it, but the everything having to do with Steven Yeun's character.
Yeah, the whole Gordy the chimpanzee stuff. Yeah,
and then oh, go ahead. Yeah, did you want to say something?
Well, just to kind of explain that a little bit, because he survives it, and he's by hiding underneath a table, but you get to like see his perspective as like his young female castmate is brutalized by this chimpanzee until she appears to be dead. We find out later she isn't, which explains some imagery in the trailer that made no sense. But now it makes complete sense, and it's horrifying. But he survives it. We watch the chimp kill the like father in the show, and then he gets its head blown off after giving him a fist bump. Because it seemed rather placid with him, because the balloons popping in that sequence set it off to murder everybody. Which is something that an animal trainer would have been super fucking cognizant of today and been like, you will not fucking have balloons on the set with my fucking animal. But back in the 90s, no one was taking that much care, as there would be today. Which is, illustrated in that commercial shoot at the beginning of the movie with the Haywoods and their horse Lucky, where everything goes wrong because of that like reflector bulb thing. Mm-hmm. And so he eventually grows up and he has more of a career. He marries Margot from For All Mankind, and they have a family of little Asian children. And instead of being an actor, he creates what's it called, a Juniper's Claim, which is a tourist trap, like wholesome, whimsical, like theme park, basically. Like
it's basically Knott's Berry Farm, if you've ever heard of that.
And what is Knott's Berry Farm?
It's just like it's an off-brand Disney World, basically, in Burbank. It's also in Burbank, and it actually is more like the Mall of America theme park, like Camp Snoopy.
Okay. Rest in peace, gone for not forgotten. It's now Nickelodeon All-Stars Park or something like that.
Yeah. But yeah, that I liked all that stuff.
He has a room, like a secret room behind a bookcase, which is all the fucking like crime scene memorabilia from the murder of like all those people. And he just gets so like weirdly whimsical, and he's always like staring off into the middle distance, like remembering like all the trauma he went through. It was just such a weird character. And it seemed like it should have been its own fucking movie, or like some, you know what I mean? This could have been an episode of his Twilight Zone show. Like, why was I understand why he put it in this, but he didn't need it. I feel like the Haywoods characters alone could have delivered the exposition and clarity necessary to illustrate all this shit. But he needed someone to fuck up, because like this is his Jaws movie. He needed a character to be the mayor to keep the beaches open, so to speak. Because they're going about it all wrong. They're trying to have a horse in their movie without, or a chimpanzee on their show without taking care of it. So in a way, his character doesn't learn the lesson, but it just gets in the way of what this movie is actually about, which is a UFO sucking people up and puking and shitting out all the blood and guts over the prairie. Like that's what this movie is. If you cut out like the half an hour it takes to communicate everything with Steven Yeun's character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anything else you wanted to mention?
I guess just to like put a pin into the whole cosmic horror aspect of it, but it circles back to the question of spectacle and whether or not it's a good thing. And I'm going to ask you if like in a little bit, what you think, if like what does Jordan Peele actually think about spectacle, considering the movie he made? It's like, does he really feel bad for making something as visually wondrous as this? I don't know, but in terms of like cosmic horror, the whole like in cosmic horror, it's usually boiled down to like if you look at the thing, you go crazy and you die. You see Cthulhu, and you either join his evil cult, you become enthralled to him, or you go so insane that you cease to exist. And in this, the difference is if you look at the thing, it's like Boo in Mario. Then it can see you, and then it wants to kill you. It's the tiger, seeing the back of your head and thinking it can jump you. Basically, it's like, oh, you're looking at me, then I can get you. And that's why no one has ever seen one of these things before, I think, because anybody who has seen it has been eaten by it, basically. And like the alien wants to be seen, and that's what made me like really appreciate, at least the nailing of cosmic horror in a way that is like actually practical and satisfying, but beyond just, oh no, big squid tentacle man is in the sky. Instead, it's just like, nope, I didn't see that. Nope. I don't know. Like it worked. A lot of what was done in this worked. But it's also kind of like a commendation of tentpole event cinema that is relevant to exactly nobody but like other navel gazers, like Jordan Peele himself. You know what I mean? Like it's like Hollywood has an over reliance on expensive production values and spending $500 million in advertising because they want to have as many people looking at them as possible. So if the metaphor is there, like the studio system is the alien, and moviegoers are the ones being sucked up into the maw and chewed out the other side with really shitty content. That's basically the allegory at play, if there is one, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're definitely right about that, and kind of the nature of spectacle being something that you can't look away from, even though you probably should.
Yeah. Like it's the Ark of the Covenant, like you should. Yeah.
Because like as far as like the chimp scene goes, there's all this carnage going on around him, and yet the thing that he can't forget is a very, very mundane fact of a shoe sort of defying gravity.
Yeah.
And I think there's something to be said there for, what people choose to remember about things, especially when it's related to like trauma that they have. Because
it's adjacent to all the really fucked up shit. It's the thing that, is mysterious. It's like it's inexplicable, but it's like the miracle in the moment, amidst all the horror, basically. Mm-hmm. It's his little like thing to hang his hat on, or like his little silver belt. That weird little thing. To not actually contend with all the nasty shit he endured as a kid. I guess the message of this movie is don't let your children become actors.
Yeah,
that's another one. Are we kind of ready to move on to final words?
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to say, if you'll kind of indulge me a second, I wanted to say a little bit about the sort of a reaction to this movie by like critics, because I've been reading a lot of reviews. And especially in terms of like people not knowing exactly what this movie is or was going to be. And one thing I've kind of noticed is as of this past Tuesday night, Universal released the embargo for social media reactions, which are basically, if people don't know, it's basically you can write a tweet about the movie that you saw before your final reviews come out. And a lot of people had kind of devoted their characters to defending this movie before anybody else in the general public saw it. So they were kind of doing this sort of precognitive Minority Report look into the future, where they decided that the general public wasn't going to like this movie, so they needed to start defending it.
Doesn't that mean they've just identified deficiencies in it? And they don't want to admit it, basically? It's like, oh, these are things that people are gonna notice and point out.
Yeah, pretty much. But I don't know, people for some reason feel like they need to like come to Jordan Peele's defense. Especially with, I mean, maybe not so much with this movie anymore, because, there isn't a lot that, he's trying to say about like our current politics as he was.
I feel like anybody could watch this movie and enjoy it, which is one of its virtues.
Mm-hmm. And for sure. And so I guess one of the things I've been noticing, one of the trends, and I absolutely hate this as I get older, I kind of notice this more, that people try and sort of like otherize people's opinions by making it so that it seems that they had an experience that put their opinion above and beyond the typical person's experience. And kind of in terms of this movie, what I've been seeing a lot of is like people saying, you haven't seen this movie until you've seen it on IMAX, or like, if you haven't seen this movie more than one time, then you can't have an opinion on it, or you can't have a fully formed opinion on it. And then my favorite, what people have been saying is, and people say this about movies all the time, there are certain film goers that will find this movie challenging. And so it's like
certain people who don't have college degrees. You know?
Yeah, exactly. And it's so like, what it does, or what they're trying to do, is basically say like, this my experience with this movie was another level above yours, and so I have the definitive opinion. And you know, it's like a lot of times with comic book movies, there are a lot of comic book fans that will do this. It doesn't really apply to this movie, but what they'll say is like, I've devoted my entire life to these characters, so my opinion as a comic book fan is above the general public's. And so
it's like saying, as a Jew, I think this about Schindler's List. You know,
exactly. Yeah.
Like, even though it carries no weight, you know, compared to, a Jewish person's thoughts on the Holocaust. You know what I mean?
I guess what I'm saying is, I've come around a lot more to different people's opinions if they disagree with me, as long as they can sort of justify it within the confines of the movie, without resorting to extraneous circumstances surrounding the movie. So I've come around on like Armand White, for instance, a lot more because I think like he's very good. I mean, yes, he's probably a troll, but he's very good at justifying his opinions within the confines of what he just watched.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of where I'm going with that, is that I've been noticing that a lot, and it's so annoying. I hate it so much, especially like as I get older. I think I probably am guilty of doing that.
As am I.
In my younger years too. Yeah.
Definitely me. Like, I was one of those lost souls who, for some reason, felt the need to fight really hard for people to like The Dark Knight Rises and Snyder's Watchmen. I felt like that was really important to me that those movies do well for some reason. But
sure,
yeah, you know what I mean. Like what skin in the game do you have? None. But like that attitude, like especially the one about like you haven't had the right experience, so you don't really know the movie. Maybe for an aficionado that argument could be true, but the average moviegoer, you can't be that elitist about it. Like and I think that's kind of what it boils down to, because even though like I'm going to couch this a little bit, because I've never experienced this before with any movie I've seen in recent memory, but this movie was not projected over the whole screen. It was almost like a picture-in-picture as far as the theater screen it was projected on. And that might have been because of the aspect ratio it had. I'm not sure. But yeah, when I saw Nope, it looked kind of wonky because it was just on the screen, but you could see the edges around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what that is they must have failed to adjust the masking on the scrine.
Oh, that fucking pisses me off. I knew I should have complained. Not that those little shitheels would have done anything about it, but.
Yeah, because I mean, if people don't know, basically, movies are shot in either what's called flat or scope aspect ratio, and that's why sometimes when you're in a movie theater, you will see either automatically using an electric motor, or sometimes it's still the movie theater employee has to come in and adjust it with a rope.
Oh my
You'll
God.
see that they have to adjust the black masking that's around the screen to either come in more or go out more. So
I didn't know that they could do that. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
The more you know.
Yeah, most multiplexes do it electronically by just pressing a button, but
Okay.
the Fargo theater, for instance, in Fargo, they had like a pulley system that you had to pull a rope in order
Good grief.
to adjust
Yeah,
that.
so yeah, you can't expect the night crew at the AMC 7 at Dakota Square Mall to be on top of things. So maybe there is some credence to it, but I don't really agree with it because of just how awesome my experience was in that bullshit, presentation. It still was effective and it worked. Like just because you've like just because you have a certain background or you had a certain context for your experience, like it doesn't mean that you had the only version of the experience that will ever matter. Because guess what? These movies are gonna be watched on like fucking like TI-86 is powered by potatoes someday. Like that's the kind of ingenuity we are capable of. And with I think it's kind of I feel like the whole Russo I don't know. It's like I don't know if the Russos are right now or not, about certain things, but to see the attitude, not only for this, but like you saw the same stuff come up about like Everything Everywhere All at Once as well. It's like, oh, like you need to see it so many times. You can't expect people to like actually care enough about these fucking things to see them 5 fucking times, or like to go to Captain Marvel 70 times like that one dude. You know what? Like you can't expect everyone to care that much. And if they weren't compelled to see it again after the first time, that's not their fault.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's the movie's fault. We used to like what made a great movie was if it made like people back like in the 70s and the 80s see it like more than like 2 or 3 times. Like that meant that like that movie fucking ruled. And it was better than, like flipping the dial on the 15 channels of TV you had or reading a book. And it's going to be really hard for even a movie like Nope to like preserve whatever the quote unquote cinematic experience is, because even Christopher Nolan's going to have to deal with Oppenheimer being cam ripped and watched on a streaming site the moment that it's projected on a screen. That's going to be happening, and someone's going to be watching it on their phone on a plane. So I respect where they're coming from, but stop being so fucking precious. We can't save everything. Like everything will morph and die and become something different. The people probably bitched and moaned about blockbusters as they were happening because it was upsetting the apple cart, or this wasn't in vogue with what was normal for them. And eventually we are going to lose the theatrical experience, but it's not because it stopped being for poor people. It's just going to be because the stewards of it just stopped doing anything worthwhile with it in the first place. But this movie is worthwhile. This movie is worthwhile. Like it's
for sure.
It's not perfect by any means. It's not like, because another thing that the critics have been doing, or at least fanboys of Peele have been doing, is basically just already saying that he's the GOAT. Like he hasn't even won a title yet, and he's the greatest of all time. It's like, imagine if Jordan was being called the GOAT, like in a serious way by people who should know better. And to his credit, he hops on Twitter and like disabuses them. He's just like, "Sir, I respect what you're doing, but put the Twitter down, because you're putting some disrespect on the name of John Carpenter, who apparently is his favorite horror director," which is probably very valid.
I can see that, especially after watching this. I could totally see the Carpenter vibes. But yeah, that's an interesting point that you bring up, and as far as where Jordan Peele stands now, as far as his status in the industry, because like I said at the beginning of the conversation, I hesitate to even call this a horror movie.
Yeah, it's an adventure film. It's a Spielbergian adventure film. It's a summer blockbuster. It's like, what if Close Encounters of the Third Time was a little grosser?
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, after Us came out, there was so many people who were jumping on his duo of movies at that point and saying, he's the king of modern horror. And now
Robert Eggers is the king of modern horror.
This movie has completely flipped that idea on its head, because it's not really a horror movie, and I feel as if Peele is going to branch out now. That's what he's going to do, right? He's not going to... Yeah.
He needs to make a family-friendly, light drama, like Simon Birch. He needs to make that kind of thing. He really needs to go off the beaten path.
My Girl. He needs to make his My Girl.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Like, why are we doing that? Like, you come on. Like, talk about not making those kinds of movies anymore. Who's making My Girl these days?
But yeah, I guess to end our conversation, where does he stand for you right now, and what do you think the future holds for him?
I feel a lot higher on him now than I ever have. He had excess, but I love it when filmmakers just go off their gourd and do something stupid and insane, even if it doesn't quite work all the time. This what he does in this mostly works. It isn't a complete thing, but at the same time, I appreciated the fact that he put his sword down for a second and just tried to make a fun experience versus just like slapping a message in my face. Yeah, he still tries to squirm his message in there, but it's inoffensive, and it's not hurting anybody by saying it. It's just he's making executives feel uncomfortable at parties, which is really what he cares about now. Because that's what he's jumping to. He went from trying to make white neoliberal boomers uncomfortable about themselves to trying to make America uncomfortable about itself, to now trying to make studio executives feel uncomfortable about themselves. And yeah, where do you go from here? You try and make God uncomfortable. So that means he's gonna pull a Darren Aronofsky next, and he's gonna make something that is gonna be a giant middle finger at God. That's what I feel like he's gonna do next.
He needs to make his version of Mother, basically.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. Either that or just make a biblical movie with a diverse cast. Like do Black Jesus. That would be the other thing he could do.
Yeah, that would be. Oh man, that would be hilarious.
I should get on Twitter. I should talk to him. Because that's the thing. The cosmic horror of being Jesus needs to be explored. And he's he uses a Bible quote in this, so he's obviously reading it.
Yeah, I guess I would come from the same sort of direction that you came at it from. I'm much more interested in Jordan Peele after this movie than I was before, because I still remember kind of when I watched Us, or as I was kind of working my way up to actually watching Us, I was sort of dreading it, because I was like, all right, here we go. Time to be, didactically preached to at. This is going to be a lesson in
time to have whatever. Some praxis.
Yeah. And it was like, I just wasn't looking forward to it. And I didn't look forward to watching Us. And after watching it, I wasn't looking forward to watching this. And I'm much more interested in him as a filmmaker now after watching this. So.
Even though we've used the word excess a lot, there's also a great deal of restraint. But it's also partly what kind of makes some things feel like weird additions. Not to dive too much more into the movie, but he threw a lot of unnecessary shit in there. Why is Barbie Ferreira in this? Just to be a hot chip Cheeto eating girl for 2 scenes? If she at least had been a love interest for the Angel character and tagged along on the Scooby-Doo adventure, that could have been fun. But I guess she needed to protest Euphoria's cast set environment or something. I don't know why she was there, basically.
Yeah, me neither. She was basically just there to provide a jump scare.
Yeah.
Because she scared him when he was closing the store or something. But yeah, totally agree. And go see it.
Definitely see it.
definitely see it, and hopefully, I mean, this is, if anything, it's a win for these types of movies, for interesting movies, because I hope it makes a boatload of money and studios, become even less scared of making movies like this.
But that's the thing. Do you need to be like, is he kind of jumping the line a little bit, Peele? Like in terms of like, is he like ready to be a like Christopher Nolan type filmmaker who gets $170 million and whatever he wants to fucking do, till the end of time? Like, is this something that Peele, like, is he like, does he need to like put some more work in, or is this movie going to be enough to just be like, okay, your fourth film, whatever you want, whatever you need, just make it happen? Like, is he already there?
Well, I don't know if he's there in the sense that I think this will make a boatload of money. And so when it does, they're just going to be like, fuck it. Here's $150 million. Do whatever you want, but just make sure it makes just as much money again.
Yeah. Or we're going to like end the deal, alter the details of the deal.
Yeah. But I guess from the perspective of if he's ready as like maturity level wise, I don't know. I mean, probably
he's getting
not.
So puffed up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But then again, what? I don't think he's gonna make that type of movie for his next movie, even if like they would want him to. Like, he's not gonna make a movie that would justify that type of budget, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, It's not like his next movie is gonna be a Marvel movie, or it's not like his next movie is gonna be like a historical epic, like Ridley Scott type movie.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I don't think so.
This is off topic somewhat, but did you see the trailer for what was it even fucking called? It was like the black historical epic, like the African historical epic action movie. It's like the Last Queen or something like that, like the Warrior Queen.
Oh, the Amanda Waller. I can't remember her name right.
Davy, not Davies. What is her name? God damn.
Yeah,
Viola Davis. Viola Davis being a fucking, it's like 300. In Africa, like, but it has like a hip hop soundtrack, so it's okay. And I don't know. I had the trailer for it, and I did some research on it, and that tribe that are like the heroes fighting the evil European colonialists, they were the tribe that created the African slave trade.
Oh, really?
And I'm just gonna leave that out there. We have some stuff coming out next week, I believe. Nothing too crazy, but we do kind of know what we're gonna be doing for the show. Vengeance was this weird little quirky thing coming to us from BJ Novak. He's wrote, directed, starred in this thing, and basically a girl he hooked up with is found dead, and he goes to the funeral because the family thinks that they were boyfriend and like girlfriend when they weren't, and then he kind of gets sucked into the idea that there might be more to her death and makes a podcast out of it, and hijinks ensue. That's really all I know about that one.
Yeah, it's the long-awaited return to the screen of Ashton Kutcher.
That is right. I forget that he's been working really hard to like sell Robin Hood stuff like that, or Acorns. I forget which thing he was shilling for a while, and of course fighting human trafficking. And then we have Not Okay, starring Zoe Deutsch, which is going to be on Hulu, and we are going to be doing this for our episode next week, because this is kind of a dark comedy skewering modern influencer culture, essentially.
Yes. Yeah, before we had started recording, I had kind of made the comparison to Ingrid Goes West, and it definitely has those vibes. And I think they were both even released by Hulu, so there's definitely a through line there.
Ingrid Goes West was kind of fun. It was
that movie was great.
What's the lead actress's name in that? Parks and Rec girl.
Aubrey Plaza.
She was great. It was such an uncomfortable film, but it was good. I really liked that. And we'll be talking about this one next week. And I have to recycle ahead here a little bit. I let these go a little too long. I figured we might have more to say. We did.
I think the next one is The Resort.
Yeah. What the fuck is this? Is this a zombie?
No, it's like a murder mystery type thing. This is from, speaking of Hulu movies, this is from the guy who made Palm Springs, which was a huge hit over the pandemic. The time loop movie with oh god, what's his name?
The guy from The Lonely Island, right?
Yeah,
Andy Samberg.
Andy Samberg. Yeah. And so this is that guy's new movie, and the byline of it is a husband and wife are on an anniversary trip, and they become embroiled in one of the Yucatan's most bizarre unsolved mysteries from 15 years prior. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. I am not opposed to that. And then the last one is Paper Girls, the Prime Video adaptation of, I forget the artist's name, but the writer is Brian K. Vaughan. And it's about these 80s paper delivery girls who somehow become part of a time travel caper, essentially, to try and preserve the timeline of history. And I know nothing about it, but I'm kind of here for it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I was saying before we started, I've read the first couple trade paperbacks of the graphic novel, and it's very much in the same vein of like Saga, where things get really weird really fast. And I'm curious to see how they're going to do some of this stuff in TV show form without throwing like $100 million per episode, type budgets. Maybe the first season will be such a huge hit that they could justify doing that for the second season.
I feel like Amazon is looking for their Stranger Things.
Exactly. Yeah. That is exactly.
And that's what this could be.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of does it for releases next week. I didn't have a chance to make a graphic, but you have a parting question for us. And why don't you run that by us?
Yeah, so pretty quick, easy one this week. A couple weeks ago, we had kind of talked about our favorite things of the year so far. And it's thinking in that same vein, I want to know what the worst thing that you've seen of the year is so far. And it could be any piece of media, TV show, movie. It could be an album you listen to. It could be anything you want. Just the worst thing that you've laid eyes on this year. So,
now knowing that, because I was just strictly thinking about what movie or media, but now I'm like, what article could I throw into the bits of hell forever? What hot take have I read that I don't want to see, or meme? What trend do I want to see go away? But I won't go that far. But yeah, this is going to be a fun one to think of.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of does it for our show once again. This is from the Mezzanine. We'll be talking about Not Okay, starring Zoe Deutsch on Hulu next week. And thank you for watching, and thank you, Matt, once again for joining me.
Yeah, see you later.
Have a good night, everybody.